The stock market found a little bit of buyers to get the day going, but ultimately we proceeded to dip back down near the end of the day. Now the question is are buyers going to continue stepping back into the market, or are we going to see that actual dip, the crash that everyone is kind of preying on? And I will say right now you're seeing some pretty big investors make some pretty big bets. Now, I will say there's big bets on both sides of the fence, but I do want to get started with talking about someone you guys may know, and it goes by the name of Michael Burry. Now, Michael Burry has been going pretty crazy. Now, if you don't know, basically at the beginning of this year, he was really bullish on China, and he went short on NVIDIA. We'll go into that here in a second. But more recently, you saw his 13F filing, and this is what was leaked. Now, again, this is what we're seeing from social media, so take it with a grain of salt, but so far this is being released that he is heavily short on PLTR, Palantir. Obviously, they just had their earnings. Now, from their earnings, it was a pretty decent beat, and I have quite a bit of information going into that, but I do want to say that he's heavily short on this. Now, this is interesting, and I think this is something that we need to talk about because you've seen this kind of pushed on social media that, okay, well, if the person that I like, the person that I follow, it could be me, right, is bullish, for instance, on the market, then I should be bullish. I can't really be bearish. And you let someone else's bias, you let someone's opinion dictate how you function, how you trade, your strategy, what you're going to do the next day, and it highly influences you. And again, I think we can all agree that at some point we have let an external factor, an external person that has nothing to do with my trading, with your trading, impact how we trade. And again, this is something that's being pushed out there. And if 2 years ago, this would have really scared people. But it's really important to know that these people are human. I'm human. Michael Burry, he's human. I'm not even comparing us, but I just want to say that that's the important thing to understand. And when you look at this, you know what, he doesn't have to answer for his position. I don't have to answer for my position. So again, no one's going to talk about he was heavily short on NVIDIA, but no one's talking about the big fat loss he took. No one's going to talk about Palantir if he loses. If he wins, everyone's going to scream and yell about it, and we'll hear about it. But it's important to understand what's going on, what's out there, and this agenda that's really being pushed. And, if I, for instance, listen to everybody about, we need to be going heavily short, we need to be looking for downside, the crash, the end is near, we wouldn't have caught some of this move to the upside, right? If we were saying all this crazy stuff, SPY is just grinding above your 50-day moving average, I would be on the outside looking in. And so it's really important to understand when you're looking at the market to have, you have your own opinion. Do research, have a strategy, and have confidence in that strategy. That's the big thing that I want to say out there. And if there's anything you should take from this Michael Burry stuff that's being pushed out there, it's that. Like, he has no impact on your trading. Understand he's probably lost quite a bit of money on some of these shorts over the past 2 or 3 years. And again, maybe he makes money on Palantir, maybe he doesn't. But for what it is, it's important to think about it, and that's how I'm thinking about it. Now, as we look at SPY, let's talk about where we're at, what's going on. Now, here on the day, you're doing the same stuff over and over. So again, if you don't have these levels, I recommend just taking a quick screenshot so you can see them. We'll start with SPY, work our way down to QQQ, some stocks, etc. So let's fly through this as fast as possible. Now, before we go too far, I want to say if you want to see how we're trading, what we're trading every single day, the Discord link is down below for you. Again, we start every day with futures because if you don't know how futures are moving, then you're not going to know how equities are going to move. So if you don't know if the NASDAQ is going to go up or down, then how are you going to know what to trade inside the NASDAQ, right? So that's how we start there. This was a monster trade this morning, by the way. Then we go into our technicals, which are all of our scalps. We shorted some Amazon today, which had really good news. You gapped up, but we were waiting for that short all day long. We had Oracle to the downside. We had Netflix. So we had some pretty monster trades here on the day. Joe Jordan starting to look for some leaps. We also bought some stock on the day. So again, all that's there for you. The links are down below. Do what you got to do. Now, as we get into this, let's start addressing what to look for, what to be looking at. Now, in order for me to even remotely be bearish, to even think about downside, you gotta you have to break down. Right now, to really flip a switch in my head to be bearish, at least get below the 50-day moving average, this yellow line. But you're not even close. You're not even close to that. Okay, and really, you're holding above this 682 spot, which is where we talked about in yesterday's video. So we saw this morning, right? We saw some initial selling down below that, but ultimately getting back above. If you look at the 2 hour, etc., you clearly held above that, but now you're kind of flagging, ready to push back up. I still lean on the side of the fence of we're still inherently very, very bullish. and you still look really, really good as the market as a whole. Now, again, here we kind of had this higher lows kind of highlighted there, but it still is worth mentioning. You're still making higher lows. You're just not following the straight trend line like you were before. So if I get this trend line link right here and just quickly mark it out, you're kind of following this a little bit more clearly, but you can still see higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, clear as day. Okay. So NASDAQ still holding up very good. Now, again, when you go towards futures, again, worth mentioning, you're still putting in lower highs here, higher lows, kind of just pinching here as we speak, and we're sitting in some pretty tight ranges. That being said, again, I'm still not naive to the fact of you could see some sort of pullback, although I'm not leaning towards that side of the fence. Now, on QQQ more specifically, you can see you're holding up very well. This is the 15-minute chart. This is going all the way back to, I think this is last Monday, I believe. Yes, this is last Monday. Again, if you get below that, like 624 on Qs, I would lean towards like getting a gap fill here. Then you have another gap fill down here at 611. So you would have some room towards the downside, but you're just not there yet. And so getting bearish while we're trending up is just very difficult for me to do. It makes no sense to me. SPY a little bit more in the fence, a little bit more shaky, but obviously just sitting here in a range. If you break above 684.9, 685, I'm looking for a break almost back in all-time high, 690, possibly 700. Really easy to be tracking that. Again, not a lot you need to overcomplicate here, okay? Very, very simple elementary stuff going on. The other side of this is SMH still continuing to sit up here in your highs, not seeing a lot of selling. XLK, the tech ETF, chilling as well. So these have been two of your biggest sectors that have really carried this market. And again, they're just sitting near highs. You can go to the hourly too so you can see. But again, you're holding up very, very well. Now, as far as fundamental news coming out, there's been no news. There's nothing crazy coming out there right now. Yeah, the Fed kind of talk more about, you know, are they split? Are they divided? They said no. Again, these are words from the Fed's mouth, not mine. You can go look at the news, the articles. If you're in Discord as well, if you scroll down towards the news, we literally cycle in all the news as it comes in through some of the terminals of the Bloomberg terminal accounts on Twitter. So you can see all that. You can actually search it here as well. So you just like type in Fed and see literally every statement from a Fed member. But anyways, going into that as well, like nothing's changed fundamentally. Nothing's changed on that side of the trade. Okay. So fundamentally, I still think you're in a really good spot. Again, you're leaning towards more rate cuts. Powell, again, did say they're driving through the fog, so he's not confirmed that a rate cut's going to come again. But again, we still are expecting that, and the market's still pricing that in. Worth mentioning. Okay. Now, I want to keep things really simple. Like I said, take a screenshot of the levels if you need them here on NQ. But again, as long as you're trending up, you look good. If NASDAQ gets above 26.15, I'm leaning towards a push towards 26.3. You look good for right now, but right now you're kind of sitting below in this middle of a range. Under 26.02, looking for 26.95, 26.85, 26.77. Again, everything you're looking at there as well. Okay. Now, I want to spend more of the video going quickly through equity stocks, more trade opportunities for you guys, so you guys can be looking for yourself. So again, let's get right into that. Now, number one, Netflix. This was the best trade on the day. Holy crap. So you go to like the 15-minute. This is where I spend a lot of my time looking for more setups. Again, you broke below the 200 SMA here near market open 1121. From there, I was targeting down to like 1103, 1105. You ended up dropping all the way down to 1180. This was literally I didn't even capture this whole move, so I can't even flex. But again, this was a monster setup, like we called here this morning. Again, you can see bright and early 836 right here. As you get below those aggressive shorts under the 200 SMA, looking for under 1117 for confirmation, 1110 then 1105. Again, dropped like $20 more. So crazy move there. Pretty big move on Netflix. Still looks pretty weak. I would still be bearish on Netflix as long as you're sitting below this resistance 1103, 1105. Again, targeting down to 1187 or 1087, 1090, and then under that looking towards 1065 as a major support. Another weaker name out there continues to be Meta, and I want to highlight that although Meta is weaker, it's still one of my favorite names in the market. I think as far as buying value, I think Meta's it's a value point here, right? 640 down to 600 is going to be pretty big opportunity in my opinion. 640s are support you're looking at here, 639 to 638 right here. As you can see, you're kind of coming into that. Where I get concerned is that if you hold below 638, 640, I think you could be in trouble, and there's too much risk to start going long. Okay, so Meta specifically have a gap fill down to 606, gap fill at 549, and then another little gap fill down here at 508. So I don't go blindly into trades. Even though I like a setup, I have to map out my plan, map out what I wanted to do, map out how I want to trade this. So if Meta starts finding buyers here and tomorrow back above 640, I do like this potentially back to the 200 SMA. But I'm, again, not going to be naive, not going to be blindly going long. Again, I want to see buyers get involved. I want to see buyers step back in before I start making any crazy decisions there as well. Okay, make that abundantly clear. Netflix, I can see Netflix continue going down. Meta, I really like it, and I don't think earnings were that bad whatsoever. Okay, Amazon announced another deal today with OpenAI, and again, they've been pretty interesting. So Amazon is kind of waiting on this trade all day long. Now you guys get to use it tomorrow if it sets up. I was looking for the break and retest under 254.5. You need to finally breaking, pushing down here. You push all the way down to like 252.5. 252.7, kind of bounced up here at the end of the day, last 10 minutes of trading. I didn't hold anything overnight, so I had to just get out, take little profits I made. But again, I think Amazon has room down into 250.5 to 251. And then obviously you have the gap all the way down to 245. And you have another gap all the way back into 230, even less than that, to be honest. Ideally, what you would like to see here on Amazon, and it's like I mentioned yesterday, is like, I just wanted to see a retest at 242.6, get the reaction to previous all-time highs. It's been one of your best trade setups over the past year with any stock that's broken into its all-time highs. So when I'm looking at Amazon here, I'm just being patient right now. Again, if you move up really fast, what do we always say? You can move down just as fast, if not faster. So what I'm looking at there on Amazon, be really careful, but more of a scalp into 251 is the clear-cut trade. Another trade out there is Oracle. And again, it's funny, I'm looking at a lot of downside stuff. So you guys might be like, Tyler, are you actually bearish? When you look at Oracle, super simple trade here for me as well. So again, I'm marking out a lot of intraday levels here so you guys can see, but let me quickly go through this. So really this, I'm like scrapping to find some levels here on Oracle. Like I've mentioned, I like Oracle long-term. I think it's actually a great stock. But again, I have to have a trade plan. I don't just blindly buy names because I like them, okay? I like to buy when I see strength, buy when I see opportunity. So when I look at Oracle, this is a big support, 260 down to 258, okay? Below 258, it's a short, down to 255, down to 251.5, and then really you have your gap fill all the way down to 243. So if you stay under 258, honestly, I'm looking for downside here, guys. You start holding 260, 262, we can start trading back to the 50 MA. But until then, I'd be very careful. It's been a really solid trade, and you guys saw it today. If you're in Discord, once you broke below 258, it was a straight shot down to 255. Still watching that. Again, really nice setup if you continue to see selling. I'd probably look for lows to break from today going into tomorrow for confirmation and seeing more aggressive selling, what I'd be looking at there for myself. PLTR just had earnings. So PLTR reported pretty well. I was debating making like a dedicated video to PLTR. I just didn't really feel like it, to be honest. I broke down a lot of their earnings stuff for you guys here as well. So again, and a lot of the stuff that I'm pull up, I just throw it into ChatGPT, tell it exactly what to break down for me, spit it out, give me all the links, etc., so I can confirm it. And then I just throw it in here so you guys can see as well. So I'm gonna start doing this as well more often. But why did it beat? Again, it's what we talked about, heavy AIP demand across commercial, again, not talking about federal contracts, right? That was the big thing, the demand that's increasing for them to do their B2B, their business there, which is awesome. Then you have federal contractors, IRS, State Department, and then obviously NATO, ally defense spend. So again, government spend is nice, but where you're seeing that growth continue to really branch out is now that B2B. Very interesting to see that as well. Again, so what you should be looking at, what I'm looking at right now, overall trade plan, where it's at. Just take a picture if you need to see more highlighted breakdown of it. But again, everything you need to know. Overall, pretty good growth. I think they did $1.18 billion, which was a pretty nice beat. Their last earnings was around $1 billion, so they almost beat by 18 to 20%. Pretty insane when you think about it. But this, where you're like, Tyler, where's the trade setup? What am I looking at here? Let's talk about it, right? Their last earnings was $1 billion. This was 1.18. So that's pretty nice. Okay. So going into this tomorrow, obviously you're gapping down to 201. As of right now, you're at 201.5. If you continue to see selling, I think this is a very simple trade. Extremely simple. I'd be eyeballing straight back into previous all-time highs, 191 to 189.5. Super simple. As you can see here too, on here, like you've clearly just been making higher lows, just clear as day. So nothing but buying's been happening. As this rolls over, what I'd be looking for, ideally, I'd like to see us flip below $200, give or take. You can actually see it right here, little high, little SR flip you had right there. So if you flip 200, 199.9, targeting 190, 191, I think it's a really solid trade. You can also put in a little bit of a target right here as well if you're going to be conservative, 195 to 194.2. Again, what I'd be looking for, I'd be expecting some sell side there. I'm not looking at the upside right now on Palantir. I think the earnings were good, but I want to see a real dip before I start buying more Palantir. There's no reason to be buying at highs, in my personal opinion, okay? Tesla, another really strong name. Really tough because we had this trade mentioned. If you are subscribed to the newsletter, the link is down below. We post it. Jordan posts it every Sunday. Tesla was mentioned there, so Jordan didn't post Tesla in Discord today. I mean, if you're mad at Jordan, everybody, you should literally yell at him. I agree. But monster trade. So really what you're looking at Tesla was the break of Friday highs right there. If you go to the 15-minute as market open, you got above that immediately and you get shot straight into 467, trying to get into all-time highs here. All-time highs, if you go back, whoops, didn't mean to grab that. If you go back here on Tesla, it's right here like 487, 488. So again, if you can hold above 470, you're looking for 480 plus easily into all-time highs. Tesla still looks strong. I'm steering clear right now as far as trading it. You had an opportunity there. A tough miss on the day. I like to just be transparent. If I miss trades, miss setups, I missed it. So it is what it is. But again, what we're looking at there, I still think semis are very strong. Again, NVIDIA. I posted this on Twitter as well. If you don't follow on Twitter, I recommend doing so, guys. I really don't know how else to say it. Do whatever you want, but I try to always keep you guys as up to date as possible. And again, I posted this literally over the weekend. This was literally the trade. Really nice trade setups both ways. As you can see, you mount above 207, break, retest, push up is what you're looking for. And look at how NVIDIA traded. I mean, you literally got above it here to start the day. You mounted it, got 3-4 tests there on the 15-minute. You ended up shooting straight into 211, 212. Another monster trade. AVGO is one of the more lackluster trades here. Again, I wanted to see this mount 374.5. You just couldn't do it. So again, on AVGO, I'm looking for this to head back down towards a 356 down here, 357. I'd like to see the reaction, but until then, can't do much. TSM's been pretty nice. I was looking for the downside trade here on TSM on the day, but again, you held 302.7, ended up going straight into 307, went actually into 310, which was another monster trade. I also mentioned this in Discord. I was looking for the shorts, which was why I signaled out, and then as you held and got like into 304, I was like, oh, this is going to break and run to 307. Mentioned it in trading chat, so you guys saw that one as well. But again, above 307, really good. Below 302, looking for 300, and I think it's a really easy trade below 302.7. Still tracking this, still watching this, and despite being so bullish on the market, guys, I will say, like, you're going to notice a lot of I think the best setups are actually on the downside. And it's not about me liking the downside more in the long term or the short term. It's more about there being less liquidity and there's just being an easier push towards those targets, right? Because when you're trading, when I'm trading specifically, I'm trying to get from point A to point B the easiest way possible, right? So I might let me demonstrate a trade setup or something that I'm looking at in the market, right? So let's say that I'm looking at, say I'm looking at Tesla, okay, or let's just draw something out because again, I'm kind of bad sometimes at showing the best examples live right now, okay. So let's look at Tesla right here, okay. So this is Tesla and it's trading in a range, okay. So Tesla has been just trading back and forth in a range right here, right. Now, as far as liquidity, I know when I go, and some of you may not know what I mean by this, but we'll see. So again, I know my next level is, it's up here at 530. This is where it is. And in this spot right here, I have no liquidity. Okay, there's just nothing in here that's interesting to me from past data. Before you just dropped straight down, there was no chop. It's just, and then you chopped here and then you kind of broke down further, right? So I know in this area, right, that there is no liquidity in both sides of this. So if we were to break above 514, I know this is a high quality setup because it's going to push most likely pretty aggressively towards my target. Why? Because there's no previous liquidity in that spot. Now, an instance of people trading chop and trading like trash, and where I think people can get really messed up, is if you go to something like, let's just use an example. Let's use Microsoft for an example. So if I look at Microsoft, I can go back at the 1 hour and I can see that I shouldn't really be targeting. So I know if I get under 518, this is a resistance. This is a great example actually, right? This is a big level, 518 we've been tracking, you've been rejecting, but I know going short under 518 really isn't an opportunity. Now, granted, I would have a target probably of these wicks down here towards 511, 509. Don't get me wrong, but you see how choppy this has been in this area? It hasn't been really smooth. So we've spent a lot of time here. So there's a lot of liquidity, right? There's a lot of action in here, right? Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's not a good setup for me. That doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Now, if we break above 518, it's been pretty illiquid back to the upside. We have a quick drop here, so there's no liquidity. When we broke out here, we moved straight up. When we broke down here, it was a break, retest, and a straight drop down. When we broke out here, it was a break, retest, straight shot up. There's not a lot of liquidity. It's very quick, all the action through the zone. So it's about knowing where you're at and kind of knowing the action that's in front of you. So when I'm referring to there being less liquidity, getting a quick drop here and there, it's about what has happened in that area previously that I'm looking at that's setting me up for success down the line. And so it's really important to understand. And right now there's just, a lot of illiquid areas on the downside of what I'm watching. But I still think if we look at names like Nvidia, like you're just holding up so well. If you stay above 207, you look really good. Apple holding up very well also. Didn't really even get a dip. I want to see a dip into 264, dip into 260. You just haven't got it. And it's worth mentioning 260 is your previous all-time high. A BRB off of that's going to be pretty key, pretty important. So as I'm looking at the market right now, again, that's just how my head is kind of fluctuating looking at this. A lot of setups I'm looking at obviously are on for the downside. But again, I still think there's still a lot of opportunity on some of these cheaper names as well. I've gone into a lot of detail. I started buying HIM stock. I almost bought HIM stock in the after hours here at 42 to 41. I was being conservative on the idea that you might dip even further from earnings, but obviously you're bouncing back into 46, 47. So we'll see. Maybe I get more, maybe I don't. But again, where we're at, how we're moving overall, I like the way the market's moving, and I still think you look good. Upside trades, I still think CrowdStrike, like I mentioned yesterday as well, you're bull flagging at all-time highs, breaking out, ready to run. Probably one of the top trades if you get the breakout and continuation. If you see buying on the NASDAQ, I don't see how CrowdStrike doesn't run to 560 plus. Definitely be watching that. The other cloud names like PanW, I mean, it still looks really good. I mean, it looks like CrowdStrike before it just broke out of its flag, right? You can clearly see kind of flagging there. It looks really good. So PanW, CrowdStrike, Snowflake, these are some of this is probably the most bullish area right now in the market, which is crazy that these cloud and overall cybersecurity names look so good. CRM as well, breaking up, charting the 200 SMA. So again, what I'm looking at, how I'm trading. If you have any questions, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. See you guys tomorrow.